Hello everyone, can you hear me? Hi, I can see some comments on the YouTube chat. Can you hear me well? Okay, I guess. Great, thanks for the answer. You're already 60, great, sorry for the 2 minutes of delay. I'm gonna go into full screen mode and start this workshop. And yeah, do not hesitate to, at any time to ask questions on the chat. The topic today will be an introduction, a short introduction to machine learning using Microsoft Azure solutions. So especially Azure Machine Learning and a bit of Azure Custom Vision as well. So there is a few slides, and then I'll try to present directly the solution on the Azure platform. So we'll talk about some of Azure Machine Learning resources, as in Azure Machine Learning Studio, on which I will demonstrate the use case that we'll see today. And we'll discuss about some specificities of Azure, so the usage of endpoints, some discussion about cost and budget, and access control and security on the Azure solutions for Azure Machine Learning and Azure Custom Vision, and we'll try to use remotely using the access key some Custom Vision tools as well. So let's start. AI with Azure. So as I said, there is some solution. If you're already familiar with the Azure ecosystem, you know that there is a lot of different tools for basically any data-related topic. So for the cloud, of course, for machine learning, and yeah, today we'll talk about machine learning. So you have the main tool, and maybe one of Azure most famous tool is Azure Machine Learning Studio, and you have some other cognitives, what they call Microsoft Azure Cognitive Services, basically we deal with what we call non-structured data, so vision with images, or language with text data, or audio data, speech, and so on. It's pretty famous nowadays, the usage of deep learning for this kind of data. Maybe you've heard about ChatGPT, that probably will soon join the Azure Microsoft Azure ecosystem. So yeah, it's it's pretty famous today. And we'll just show one example of custom vision. So it's a solution for images. And yeah, within Machine Learning Studio, you can access different tools, some Jupyter notebooks, of course, if you're already familiar with that, if you've done the data scientist course. Oh, there is a comment saying my voice is not really clear and low. I'm not speaking that low. Maybe I can try to... yeah, sorry about that. I don't know if it's only one person or everyone, but I'm trying to speak a bit loud, so that's strange. Okay. It seems fine for others. So yeah, I'll try to speak louder, and don't hesitate to tell me if there is some issue either with my voice, or with the mic, or with the internet connection. Within machine learning, Azure Machine Learning Studio, you can access either Jupyter notebooks, some either code with Python, or you can also access some automated machine learning tools and we'll show that in a few minutes, to just easily using drag and drop and just some clicking button. You can develop a machine learning model without even using some code, and that's pretty convenient. And you also have some, of course, solution to compute and train the machine learning or deep learning models. You can load some data and build some, as you can see on the top right here, some pipelines to transform the data. And yeah, basically you can access all the different tools that you can use and that you can need in order to build machine learning models, either using Python or without using code at all. Okay. That's strange. There is another comment about some echo, but yeah. If it's for everyone, tell me, but it shouldn't. Okay, I'm gonna put it like this so that you can see the whole screen. And yeah, for the previous slide, it did automated machine learning, and we'll see about AutoML in a few minutes. And for cognitive services, I will briefly show an example using Vision, but it's all the tools related to what we call deep learning, basically. So everything that's related to data with images or speech, audio, text, or chatbots and search engine and so on. Okay, so as we've said, inside machine learning, Azure Machine Learning Studio, we have notebooks, some automated ML solutions. You have some drag and drops tools to build pipelines really easily without using code. You can follow and put into production a model easily using the endpoints that we'll show also in a few minutes. And basically, you have all the tools that you need in order to work with machine learning and all deep learning models. Let me show you how we can create a machine learning service, and then we'll try to use it directly. So if you're not at all familiar with the Microsoft Azure ecosystem and interface, it's pretty straightforward and easy to use. You have this platform that's called the Azure Portal, on which you can access all the different tools either related to cloud or databases or web services or machine learning. You can see the list of all the services. As you can see, there is quite a lot. And today we'll focus on machine learning, Azure Machine Learning. But basically, you can access everything through that portal, and it will be the place where you create the resources, where you deal with the access, the security, and the data and the clusters of that you can use to compute or to some some operations or some transformation on the data, and or if you need to train models and so on. If you want, for example, to access Azure Machine Learning, just as you can see, there is really a lot of tools, so it will require a lot more than 1 hour to talk about everything. But let's focus on Azure Machine Learning. I already created the solution that we're going to use just later. But if you want to create one new, it's really similar for all Azure tools and solutions. And it's you just basically have to create workspace and just choose some parameters. Maybe the most important one is the subscription, and you need to work with most of Azure tools and solutions. You need a subscription, and there is a cost like any cloud-based services, but real cost that really depends on what you want to do and what solution you will use, and all the resources you need to use. So basically, you choose this subscription and you choose all the parameters, the name of the tool you want to build, and you can choose the region in which it will be created. There is a lot of different parameters. And there is an interesting question in the chat. Guillaume asks us if it only works with Windows. And no, as you can see, I'm just in my browser, and the Azure Portal works for any type of computer. And if you need, because it was thought as a Microsoft solution, so if you need, and sometimes you need that to like execute some commands in the Windows PowerShell, or some really Microsoft some commands specific to Microsoft or Windows, you have a solution that's called the Cloud Shell that you can use directly inside the browser, and so there shouldn't be any issues using most of Azure tools or in a Linux or Mac environment. Okay, so you have this kind of parameters and settings for Azure resources, and when you've created your Azure Machine Learning solution, you have a lot of parameters, of course, that you can custom and design as for any Microsoft Azure solution. And maybe it will be, maybe some are more important than others, but of course the name of your resource, and the fact that here for Azure Machine Learning will directly access the solution and the automated machine learning tools and the pipelines and so on another platform, the Azure Machine Learning Studio, that you can access here. And as you can see, we can control the access, so people in our group of work that can access this resource. We can manage a lot of different metrics of usage of these machine learning tools and so on. I'm not going to go into too much detail about that. There's really a lot to talk about, but basically you can analyze and customize every Azure solution from this Azure portal, and you can access all your resources really easily. Let me come back to that just to show you for in most cases when you create an Azure solution. Here we created an Azure machine learning resource. It creates different other resources that can be used, like it creates them automatically, and they will be used, for example, here to store the data. So we created this Azure ML workspace, and it automatically created the storage account and some information about to monitor our solution here, and also the key vaults in which are stored the access key that you can use in order to access the solution remotely directly on a Jupyter notebook on your own computer and so on. And that's true for most of Azure solution for machine learning, for the cloud, for data streaming, for example. You have these access keys that you can use in order to access the solution and in order to have like a layer of security between some usage and your Azure tool. And we'll see how to use that in a notebook, in a local notebook just later about custom vision. It will be just a short example at the end of this workshop. Okay, now I can show you, and do not hesitate if you have questions. And I'm going a bit fast. If you're not at all familiar with the Azure portal, it's not that easy to understand. But basically it's like this, and you can access all the resources and the resource groups in which there is different resources, and just this resource group was automatically created when I created my Azure Machine Learning solution. And as you can see, you have the storage account and the key vaults with the access keys for not to access results in the different endpoints and models that we will build inside Machine Learning Studio. Okay. Yeah, maybe you're right. I can zoom in a bit. It would be maybe easier for you to read. Sorry. It should be better. Okay, so now we're in Azure Machine Learning Studio, and inside Machine Learning Studio, so that's another website platform, and you have Azure Machine Learning Studio for machine learning. You have Azure Synapse Analytics that you can use to monitor many solutions of the clouds to access data or some data storage and so on. And yeah, you can do pretty much everything related to Azure Machine Learning inside this studio. So everything that's related to access, security, users that can use your solutions or monitor the activity of your resource. It's on the Azure Portal for everything that's related to really the content of that's related to machine learning. It's on Azure Machine Learning Studio. And yeah, you can access many different things. Maybe we can talk about the pipelines, for example. And there is an example here about, so it's a regression task. So I hope everything is familiar with machine learning because we'll talk about that for the remaining 30 or 40 minutes. But yeah, so here it's a regression task. So we have some automobile data, and we want to predict the price. So we have these data sets, and using the Machine Learning Studio solution, we can really easily build a pipeline of preprocessing, and you can you can build these blocks that are predefined, and you can just create this this pipeline and to deal with missing data, to split the data, and then you can define the model and train the model and see the output in the score and evaluate and compare the model and choose the model, and so on. Every basic machine learning task. And yeah, it's really easy to do, and you can just use the predefined blocks that include some code. You can see on the left, you can choose the different blocks, and if you want to add columns to your data set, rows, or if you want to apply any transformation at all, or clean missing data. You can do pretty much everything. I don't know why it's lagging so much. It's probably the streaming and Azure Portal that are there is a bit of conflict, so it's lagging a bit. And yeah, it's really easy to use. Maybe now I can show you, for example, what could I show you? Yeah, and you can have go back to the designer. I think the pipeline interface is lagging quite a bit. That's strange. It didn't lag earlier, of course. Yeah, and you have here in the designer, you have a lot of examples that you can use. Here, just the regression I just showed about automobile data, and you have also some images classification task, and you can just play with this pipeline. It's really easy to build one. And you have the I don't know why the Azure Portal is lagging so much. Maybe I'm gonna try to let me just check. I don't know why it's lagging so much. Okay, will manage. So when you want to build an ML model, the main maybe most interesting thing in Azure Machine Learning Studio is the fact that you can create an auto ML. That means that you can create a machine learning model that really, yeah, you can create it without using any code at all. And so, yeah, you can just build like this ML job, automated ML job here. And I don't know why. Can you see my screen, or is it lagging for you as well? Yeah, that's really strange. Sorry about that. Can you tell me in the chat if it's lagging for you as well? Can you hear me well? It's freezing on my side, but maybe I can. Yeah, I will just do a quick check and come back in 30 seconds. And do not hesitate to ask questions during that time. And yeah. It should be better. Okay, it should be better. Can you hear me now? And is it working? I think it's better. Yeah. Okay. Great. So really sorry about that. So yeah, as you can see, we are talking about the creation of a new automated ML job. So you want to solve a machine learning task, and you want to use you can use Microsoft Azure Machine Learning Studio. You want to build an ML job, so the purpose of that is just to avoid any kind of code at all. It will just do pretty much everything that you want it to do. So fit the data, choose a model, the best model based on some metric, maximize metric. It will do the optimization by itself, and yeah, just the name is well chosen. It's really automated machine learning. So if you want to build this AutoML job, it's really easy. As many Azure services, it's really easy to use and create. As you can see, there is already one job that was created by me earlier, because it takes some some time to run and to train, of course. So yeah, we'll just look at these results just after. But so here we have a data set about some information about some houses, and we want to predict the rent, or the fact that it will be rented, and so on. You can basically predict different things, but yeah, here we have a data set about price and statistics about houses. And so in Azure Machine Learning, you can just create the data set and use this platform to load an already existing data set. And that's what I did previously by loading some data about the houses that you can find on the data tab here. And yeah, you can see that you have already I already loaded the data. You can see the size of the data. You can explore the data directly on this portal. So different characteristics, as you can see, the size, the price of the rent that we'll try to predict, some dates, some areas, some different kind of features that would be useful to predict the price. And you can, based on the data you uploaded, you can create this auto ML job. And so let's say we want to use this same data. Then we can create or select an existing machine learning job. Let's say I want to create a new job, so job ML, and I can choose a target column in my dataset. In that case, that's the range, but it could be anything I want. And you see how easily I can access the content of the dataset that's stored in an Azure storage that I just previously created using three clicks on this platform. So let's say we want to predict the rent. You can choose the type of computation you're going to use. So either a compute cluster or instance. And so an instance, basically a virtual machine that does the computation remotely on the cloud. And I created one just earlier also. You can see different characteristics and the price. And it's quite faster than the compute cluster, because the compute cluster is basically different virtual machines put together, and it's faster. Like it has more computational power, but it can take some time to be created and initialized. So in that case, I chose the compute instance because my task and dataset are quite. My dataset is not that heavy and the task is not that difficult here. But you get what I mean. And so you can select this Azure instance, and it's really pretty easy and straightforward. And I really did not do much of anything prior to in this platform prior to right now. I just created one cluster, but if I wanted to create one new, it's like you can just easily choose all the parameters of the cluster, the power you want to use, and the price that you can allow to that you can pay for this task. And it's really easy and easy to understand and to create directly on this platform. And so let's say we want to use this cluster, and then we can just select the task. So it's either a classification regression task, or time series forecasting, or the different NLP or computer vision task. I will show some example about computer vision with another tool just after, but we can do a lot here. And you can see there is a warning here for NLP or computer vision. We need to have a GPU because the computation is quite heavier, and so we need another cluster of computation. But as you can see, it's really easy to use. There is there is a good question on the chat. Monica, do we need a paying account? The 12 months free account is eligible for machine learning resources. So that's a good question, and that's a question that's interesting even for other resources on Azure. Basically, you need to pay. Most resources have a cost, and it depends. It's most of the time it's a cost by usage. So that means it's a cost by hour of computation for the clusters. It's a cost of size, based on the size of the data you need to store if you want to create a data warehouse and so on. But basically there is a cost. You have a lot of different ways to access some free credits in Azure. If you create an account, as you said, you have some some months to access the platform, and you have, I think, $200 US dollars of like credit that you can use for any tools, just to try and to see if you're satisfied with the experience. And but the answer basically is there is a cost, and that's why that's true for other cloud-based platform, or for any cloud-based platform, but it's one of the parameters that makes you choose either Azure or AWS or GCP or other cloud-based platform, and it's an important parameter, of course. Okay, in that case, it's a regression task on the rent, and then we can let me just go back to that. And for those that are really familiar with machine learning, you can also choose the metric you need to focus on to choose for the platform to choose the best model, and you can list the model that you want to try or doesn't want to try, or don't want to try. And that's really interesting to have this list of model. And you can also create directly on this platform customized metric or custom models using the notebook features that you have here. So that means that you can use directly all these tools, but you can also use Python and just implement the model you want or the metric you want, or choose some strange training loop or strange preprocessing operation. And there is some this flexibility to this tool that you can really use as you want. It really depends if your task is quite exotic or complicated or not. In that case, we just kept the RMSE. And as you can see, in a few clicks, I'm able to create this job, and then you can choose the type of validation you want. That's also really specific if you're not familiar with machine learning, or just a little bit, probably that you do not know about k-fold cross validation, and that's all right. But just the way you want the model to be tested after training, and the more complex and is this operation, and the more data you keep to be sure that your model is working fine, the more robust your model will be. But let's say we just want a simple train test split, and then you can choose the percentage, same as in scikit-learn train test split function, and then you can choose if you want to use or not use test data. And that's also interesting. It depends if you really are sure that after this validation you will be able to use this model in real life with real life data, or if you want to have this extra layer of safety using test data, really completely new test data that you can already access. And that depends. There is another question: which are practical use case when it's better to implement a mesh script with Python, and when it's better to use the out of the box? That's a good question. It depends. It depends if the things you want to do are already implemented, and if you can already access them directly here with the AutoML tool. As you can see, there is already a lot of different things that you can access for the most common task. And I mean, classification, regression, it's common, but it's maybe the most used task when you have tabular data and when you want to use machine learning. And so, probably that you do not need to create a custom function. Same for the preprocessing. Most of maybe I'm gonna come back to the sorry, it was here. to the pipeline here, you have lots of different processing that you may want to do, cleaning the missing data, or apply a normalization, standardization, apply some encoding to categorical variables, and so on. So yeah, the answer is it depends. It depends if it's if it already exists or not, and do you really need to apply your like an exotic processing, or do you need to use a model that's not listed here in the list of automated ML? Maybe if I do that really fast, if I come back to yeah, just come back up really fast to that, to the list of models. Do you really need to use something that's outside this list? Did you build your own new and completely new machine learning model? Maybe you want to publish a research paper, but in most cases you're going to use these kind of models. And I will just show you the outputs of this job in 1 minute, and you will see that it's like a really optimized way of comparing the model and doing some assemble methods also. So it was designed in order to not use some Python scripts, but if you have really specific tasks, you can, of course. There is another question by Christian. Whenever we have a pipe or job done in Azure, are we bind into Azure, or can we export all to reuse it elsewhere? Great question. So it's I will show that also in a few minutes. The answer is you can export it. You can export it using different ways. So you have. Let me just go to. Maybe I'm gonna just show you the outputs of the job I ran, and then I will show you the endpoints. But yeah, basically the answer is yes. I'll show it in 1 minute. So there is. I ran just prior to this workshop during, as you can see, 40 minutes, quite long, and I selected some quite simple model. So I ran this job, same as the one I've just showed you. So on the characteristics of house, I want to predict the rent price. And so I ran a model, and this model, so it was, it was using the cluster I just showed you with this kind of parameters and price. And then you can look at actually a lot of different things. I don't want you to be lost in these different tools, but yeah, basically here you can find, maybe I can show it directly here. That's the list of all the models that were tested. So I just selected some of them, and you have like the models, elastic net, decision tree, and I think I selected some, random forest also. And you can select all the model from the list that you just saw before, and you can see also the preprocessing that was applied, so different preprocessing for each model. Each combination was done automatically, and you can see the score, the normalized root mean square error, the metric that I wanted the job to focus on. And you can see a lot of different hyperparameters here, and you can access everything. You can access the hyperparameters of the model that were used. It's like a grid search, but like a really optimized grid search TV, that same as you can see on scikit-learn, but here you test a lot of models, and there is directly the pipeline with preprocessing inside, and you have you have assemble methods that are done directly. Assemble methods, it's just the model selects different methods and make them have they vote and choose the best outputs. And yeah, you can see here the hyperparameters. You can access everything for the weight for this, the voting between models and different parameters on different models and so on. Yeah, as you can see, you can access a lot of things here. So I did not run all the different possible models. I just selected some, and it already took like 40 minutes. So quite a long time for a simple task here. Probably that in Python, if you run just a good search with one or two models, it would maybe have been faster, but we wouldn't have in the pipeline all the different processing that were tested in the ensemble methods. So it's really more complete and robust than just doing. Well, yeah, you can do like a great pipeline using Python, but it will probably be difficult to be that much precise and to have access to all of these logs and outputs and score of different models. As you can see, really easy to navigate and to use to access all these outputs. Another question: with processing, we can remove the null and value. Yeah, yeah. So I'm here. In this job, it's not cleaning that's done. It's a different way to apply feature engineering or standardization, normalization to the data, and that this kind of transformation really depends on the model you want to use. So you have like the pre-processing, like the cleaning or adding new column, new data, gathering new data, and then you have the you have the part of the training that includes the really specified pre-processing that depends on the type of model you want to use. That's why here you can see different for the same model, different ways of applying transformation. And then, of course, you have the different hyperparameters on the right. Yeah, the cleaning can be done, but it should be done, I think, in before this automated ML task. And if you want to include in the pipeline if you want to include it in the pipeline, this cleaning of missing values and or other steps of processing, probably that this will be the best way to do it, to apply. Like here, you're in this in the designer, and you apply the transformation, the cleaning, and so on, and then you can it's more easy to customize. It's just not one big automated pipeline. It's easier to customize. So you have three ways to do it. Just either in Python, you import your notebook directly here, and you create your notebook, and it's just it should be quite fast, but you will see it's just a notebook with Python, really easy to use, that you can also open in VS Code. So that's one way to do it, just doing Python and using then after the clusters of computation. And or you can build your pipeline using this tool, the designer, with drag and drop, or you can just directly you can just directly use the automated ML job that we just showed. So yeah, three ways. And as you can see, I'm just navigating really easily between the three. So yeah, that's quite convenient. And maybe that's convenient. That's fast. You have like this nice drag and drop interface you can navigate and add anything you want. But maybe something that's really important here is that you can, and maybe that's the most important, the two most important things, because this part you can do it easily in Python. As we said, you can do it in notebooks. If you're familiar with pipelines of machine learning using Python, you can do it. But what's harder to do is to connect with the data source and to deploy the model and to to connect to the data source to access all the data and also to do all the computation that may need if you have a large data set or large source of data. If you're working with data streaming, for example, that's difficult and needs a lot of computational power. And in that case, that's also convenient to connect directly to the clusters in the cloud. And also, and that was a question earlier, it's not always that easy if you're used to working with notebooks or even with Python in general. When you're using either scikit-learn or a deep learning framework, you're implementing your model, your pipeline, and then you have one trained model and maybe an output on a prediction for a test set, a small test set, and yeah, that's great. But now what? What can I do? You need to access this model, to use it for maybe another team in your company needs to use this model. Maybe you want to update continuously the data set. Maybe you need to retrain the model. If you have a deep learning model, it needs to be trained all the time, same as for the chatbots, for example. And that's really difficult to do if you do not have this kind of interface, this kind of tool to connect the data, the model, and the API, the service that will use the model afterwards. And that you can do it using the endpoints, just to connect the model, to deploy the model. And as it's written here, you can use these endpoints to connect the model with an API, with another service, and to either load new data in the dataset and then retrain your model, and then you can communicate the results, and the model can do like prediction on some new data. And so you have these endpoints to do that. And another way to access all of these Azure machine learning tools are the access keys I mentioned briefly earlier. When you're in, let me go back to the Azure Portal. When you're in the Azure Portal, you have a lot of ways to monitor the security, the access control, that's called in Azure. You have a lot of ways to monitor the security, just access to your services. And for example, here I'm in my machine learning solution that I've just used in Machine Learning Studio, in Azure Machine Learning Studio, and I want to add some some other users with a certain level of access, a certain role for this machine learning solution, and you have all these that you can choose and customize Azure. And as you can see, there is also a lot of different access levels. So I won't go into all of the details, but basically you can really personalize the access to all the resources as you want, based on the group of users, and that's really important and to configure, and easy to also manipulate. And when you did that, you can access the resource using the access key, and this access key is really also really easy to use. I'm just saying that a lot, but as you can see, it's true. And I've just done a quick notebook to show you some custom vision tools. So it's not exactly machine learning, it's deep learning in that case, but it's another Azure solution. It's custom vision, and through custom vision you can access computer vision and NLP. And when you created your resource in the Azure portal, you can also access, maybe I'm going to zoom in a bit, you can also access the services using the key and endpoints. So that's two information that you have on the Azure portal. And maybe you want to access some cognitive services. So you have like the Azure Cognitive Service package in Python, and you're in your notebook, you're in your computer or I don't know, working remotely and you want to access a solution from either Azure Machine Learning Studio or Azure Cognitive Services, you have this access key, you have this endpoint that corresponds to the URL of the resource you created, and then you just make the connection really easily using the Azure package that you just have to use if you want to use it on your computer. That looks like this. The documentation is not that hard to read, so if you need it, it's and then you can, for example, let's say I have this image and I just open this image with Python and I load it using my computer vision resource. And yeah, there is some Python code just to display the image here, but it just creates a description with a confidence score, and that's just one of the many things you can do using custom vision, just to have this description of image. I think, some other examples. You can do it with public URL also. Yeah, here it's Ed Sheeran with glasses and a microphone. As you can see, it's quite accurate. And there is almost no code in Python, just the URL of the image, some code to display the image. And here, basically, there is just that, just the describe image function. That's something that's already implemented inside the computer vision resource that you would have created in your Azure portal. So that's really easy. So you have this kind of image description. You can access image analysis. Sorry for the code. It's quite, yeah. Image analysis, the same. You have this analyze image in streams that already exists in Azure. That gives you all of the things you want based on the image. So the description from earlier, and also some object detection with bounding box and the associated label, and some tags. And you can also add some filters for security or age restriction and so on. Yeah, just a quick display of what you can do using computer vision. And as you can see here, it was a personal notebook on my own computer, just using my access key and the endpoints that corresponds to the computer vision resource that I created earlier on my Azure portal. So yeah, you can do quite a lot of different things, and you can manage the security directly in the Azure portal, the access, and the solution, the resources, the groups of resources, and all that's related to cost, to monitoring the amount of data, the storage of the data. And then for each individual tool or resource you want to access, you have either Azure Synapse Analytics, but that could be the topic of another workshop. And here we had Azure Machine Learning Studio, in which we can access our notebooks if you want to directly use Python, the automated ML job that we've shown earlier, and the pipelines of processing and modelization that we can really easily customize using drag and drop. Question from Geoffrey: is it strong enough to run it in real time? You mean for Machine Learning Studio or for the access key and custom vision on the notebook? For Machine Learning Studio, you can run it real time, but it will take quite some time to run. And for the solution here, I just ran it before because to be sure it would work, but it goes quite fast. All the functions of computer vision, like image analysis and this kind of analysis or prediction with computer vision client, it's like it's like 1 second or even faster, I think. And yeah, if you really want some really fast outputs in milliseconds, or maybe that's not the best way to do it, using just a Jupyter notebook and disconnection. In that case, if you have streaming of images, you may want to use other Azure tools For example, Azure Stream Analytics, in which you can like build a pipeline to manipulate data and connect Azure Machine Learning Studio if you have really fast data streaming. But yeah, if that's just for a matter of seconds, yeah, it goes quite fast. Another question, is computer vision client something on the shelf provided by Microsoft or custom library model? Yeah, you mean all of this connection and function? It's a package that you can import in Python. This is here, Azure Cognitive Services, and you have different packages that you can install directly in yeah, it's a French command, just saying. You just have to do that once, of course, but yeah, it's just a package that you can install and it works quite well. And as I've said, you have the documentation if you want to take a look, Azure Cognitive Services. And yeah, it's quite clear. There is the documentation is quite clear. And MS REST for the authentication, just to connect using the credentials here, key endpoints. So really not so much to install and or import, and then you have all the functions. You can have a look at here. For computer vision clients, you have all the different functions that we can use. So analyze image, that's just shown. Analyze image by URL. You have like some descriptions that I've shown also, and you have a lot of different tools that you can directly access in a notebook. It's just another way to use Azure solutions. Okay, great. Hope it was clear. Tell me if you have questions. Sorry for the little trouble with the freezing of the image. Yeah. Tell me if you have any question at all, and otherwise, I think it was fast. It requires some previous knowledge about machine learning to understand really what I've done here with cleaning and the trend test split and the model optimization with the parameters. But it was mostly to show you what we can do using Azure Machine Learning Studio, and just a quick preview of Azure Cognitive Services. Okay, great. And yeah, we'll put on the YouTube description some links if you want to have a look about Azure Cognitive Services, Machine Learning Studio, and something that's presented today. Great. Thank you, everyone. Oh, question from Genevieve. No, I didn't talk about Azure Time Series Forecasting. And you can, let me just, let's say we'll create a job faster like this. You have different possibilities also. You can here it just selects the only column that's a date in my dataset, but basically it will try some time series analysis, and the typical Arimax and so on. And you can also try deep learning, probably deep learning recurrent forecasting, I think. But it's probably the classical time series analysis. And so it works for time series forecasting also. But maybe for time series forecasting, the thing that could be interesting is to work using really precise time frame or information about dates. And I think about data streaming. If you have a stream of data in real time and you want to access some information about, let's say some windows of 5 seconds, and you want some analysis about some specific window, and maybe you want to predict this specific window the next day, and work with these kinds of condition and settings about time frames. Something really interesting is Azure Stream Analytics, in which you can really define this analysis by window of time. And so, yeah, you could combine both, and that could be really interesting to work with data. So, yeah, if you have some data streaming, you can have a look at Azure Stream Analytics also. And yeah, otherwise, have the mainly used machine learning and deep learning algorithm, you can access them directly. Perfect. Thanks. Great. And thank you for the questions and the attention. And if you have questions, you can contact us directly on Slack, or if you're a member for one of our trainings, you can ask questions on the support platform that you probably already know. Great. Thank you, and have a good afternoon and great weekend.